You've made it to the end of your Zelda game. You've learned how the game works through the intro dungeon. You got your bearings throughout the second dungeon. You felt confidently challenged in the third dungeon, proceeded through a big plot twist, and worked hard throughout all of your remaining crazy and unique dungeons. And here you are at the end. But wait, there's just one more dungeon left. One more test of how well you've honed your puzzle-solving skills and how well you handle your combat abilities. When it comes to The Legend of Zelda, your final dungeon tends to bounce around a few common traits. It either takes place in a castle, most likely, or some ominous building. It could be a completely new dungeon, but more likely it is a revisit through all of your previous experiences. And finally, of course, amazing music. Hey y'all, I'm the Geek Apprentice and welcome to my final video, maybe not, in my dungeon music series. We have seen the forest-themed introductory dungeons, the highly debated water dungeons, the arid desert dungeons, the ominous otherworldly dungeons, the forgotten fire dungeons, and the woefully underused ice-themed dungeons. But now it is time to take a look at our final dungeons. Before we get to that, however, I need to address something. Dungeons that were never featured. I mentioned it in one of my earlier videos in the series, but because of a mistake I made early on, this led to 2 dungeons not being in any of the videos. Here they are, and here's why. The Wind Temple from the Wind Waker. When I first began my lists, I was determined not to use dungeons from the same game on the same list, barring Ocarina of Time. This led to the mistake of not putting this clearly forest-themed dungeon on my first list. The worst part, however, is even though I kind of pushed this dungeon out of my mind because no matter how cute he is, I hate escorting Makar around, the music theme is actually really good and probably would have ranked decently high. The other one is the Forsaken Fortress, both times, also from the Wind Waker. I don't think many will begrudge me for this one, not just because most don't even consider it a dungeon, but rather because the only category it would fit is other. Even if you do come up with a theme, it'd be difficult to tie into what I've already done. I always kind of knew this one would be left out, but I don't feel too bad about this one either. You know why? While the musical theme fits, it's annoying as all get out after a very short period of time, so it's fine. You've come to the end of the game, the end of the puzzles, the end of the characters, the end of the story. When it comes to your final dungeon, naturally the developers hope to leave a lasting impact. This is the climax after all, and the gameplay and design must match this height of expectancy. Setting the mood and atmosphere with a bar seemingly too high to reach is, of course, the music. Frankly, trying to even pass the inside of the moon from Majora's Mask as a dungeon is a stretch, I know. However, I really wanted to try and include each 3D Zelda game for my final video of the series. It's not difficult to understand why this one is at the bottom of the list. Do the ambient sounds match the atmosphere? Of course. Is it really a theme of music though? No. But that's okay. It did its job of creeping us out, as that's not exactly how we imagine the inside of that freakish moon to be. The most disappointing thing about the Hyrule Castle theme from Twilight Princess is that no one really remembers it. Not even me. The reason that's so unfortunate is because it's actually a pretty solid piece of music. Repetitive, sure, but quite well done other than that. Sadly though, it just doesn't compare to the rest on this list. But it does deserve a good listen. Ganon's castle from Ocarina of Time is surely a favorite for most watching, and there is no denying its excellence and brilliance. The suspense, the instrumentation, my gosh, everything about it was so perfect. So why only number 3? I find the rest more enjoyable to my ears. Also, don't misunderstand me, but the instrumentation for some reason gives me too strong of 80s vibes. Incredible piece, that's indisputable, but there's a later version I personally prefer to listen to. Yup, Ganon's Tower from Wind Waker, which is the theme from Ocarina of Time but updated, is my number 2. There's something about the changes made to create this version that just sounds so creepy and good, which is odd because of the cel-shaded cartoony nature of Wind Waker. Or perhaps it's that disparity which makes it so good. In my opinion, yes, that's exactly what it is. Obviously, we have to give credit where credit is due. The original melody comes from Ocarina of Time and it's magnificent, but the Wind Waker version is my preferred. I know I've kept Breath of the Wild out of this series as it doesn't contain dungeons. Even if you wanted to count the Divine Beasts or the Shrines as mini-dungeons, respectively the themes are basically the same. And while perhaps it doesn't count still in most minds, I have to bring up the theme for Hyrule Castle. The outside theme alone is wonderful, but speaking directly about the inside, incredible. After exploring such a large expanse of a map with ambient music pervading our ears for the most part, and very well done, I might add, to walk into Hyrule Castle and get this theme is amazing. I think I speak for most when I say I was happily taken aback upon hearing this theme. Were I to be able to count it as a dungeon, and I'm sure some would say I could, it would have been number 1 for sure. Ethereal. One of many of the best words to describe the theme for Skyward Sword's final dungeon, Skykeep. Like many final dungeons, you end up revisiting many previous dungeon experiences, but instead of taking place in a castle, as there wasn't a Hyrule or Ganondorf at this point, we are taken into this temple-esque building, and the music is just so gosh darn perfect. I also adore it because of that higher ethereal aspect. I'm not sure I can accurately portray how much I love it. I mean, are there even good enough adjectives? Ethereal, mellifluous, angelic, ambient. It's number 1 for good reason. So there it is, my personal ranking of Final Dungeon themes. Be sure to let me know in the comment section below how you would rank them, or at least which one is your favorite. Kind of sad the series is over, so I'm sure I'll find a way to squeeze out just one more video from it. Be on the lookout for that. Also, massive news, I have merch! I still feel weird about that. I had been working on this merch for a little over a year, fine-tuning little things, and I had planned on waiting until I reached 10,000 subs, but I really wanted to order a sample, so I figured, we'll just release it now. The link to that will be in the description below. As always, massive thank you to each and every one of my channel members and patron supporters, especially those in the highly end tier over on Patreon, like Joking Batman, Code and Data, Trevor, and McToppler. Y'all are amazing, and it's because of all of this amazing support that I have finally ordered a new web camera, because this one has been on the fritz and just messing up so much lately. It has served me well, but I'm getting a nice one. Kind of. It's like tier 2 out of 3, I guess. I went up. I'm not going quite too pricey yet, but it's not coming in for like 2 more days after I'm recording this, so soon. Next video or stream, whichever comes first. But anyway, that's all for today. Thank you for watching.